You followed the training, you've built the skills, and you became the therapist. But now you're wondering, is this it? Beyond the therapy room is where we have the conversations most therapists are thinking, but not saying out loud. There's Sky, psychologist and mentor, and Ali, counsellor and tantric healer, bringing two perspectives, clinical and intuitive, structured and expansive. We talk burnout, identity, spirituality, business, relationships, and what happens when you stop playing by the rules that you were trained in. This is for the therapist who knows there's more. Two different paths, two different perspectives, but the same truth. There's more available to you than the box you were trained in. Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Beyond the Therapy Room, where today I'm joined with Cass. And Cass has eagerly accepted my invitation to come on the podcast today. And the reason I've invited her is she has a podcast of her very own. It's called Mind Your Being. And we wanted to celebrate, first and foremost, you've just reached 12 months, my dear, haven't you, of your very own podcast. Yep. How does that feel?
It feels amazing. When I first started, I had no particular plan that I would even get to 12 months. It was just like, see how it goes. And so, I'm very excited, very happy for it.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I was just listening to your latest episode in the drive on the way over here, and it was really inspiring just to hear how much you've learned yourself as you've interviewed and shared more of your life and understandings with people through your podcast.
Thank you.
But another reason why I've asked Cass along today is that Cass has had an idea to start this podcast over 12 months ago, and she's still in part-time work. So sometimes when we have an inspiration arrive, it might need to fit in with our life that's already happening. So I wanted to ask today, Cass, like for the audience here, can you remember a time when you realized there might be, that other way that you wanted to contribute, or that inspiration that landed for you to start your podcast? Can you talk a bit about that?
So as I say in the intro to my podcast, several years ago I had an idea to create a blog and share health and wellbeing information. And because I'm just so passionate about learning about health and wellbeing, and I love talking about it with people, and I never created that blog. I let fear get in the way.
So initially you wanted to write.
Yes, because podcasts weren't such a thing back then. It was quite a few years ago. Mm-hmm. But I'd written all these ideas around, and then I let fear stop me. And over that time I got into podcasts, and I'm just drawn to medical, health and wellbeing, personal growth podcasts. And so I'd listen to a ton of those, learn a heap of stuff, studied some psychology, finished a diploma in counselling, and then I was like, I want to have these conversations with people. I want to share this information through conversation. I also really love to talk. I love connecting with people. So it was kind of like, well, I want all the things that I love, connecting with people, learning, sharing information about health and wellbeing, fused together, and that looks like a podcast for me. So
yeah, I can see how all of those things that you're drawn to and enthusiastic and passionate about, they fit very well, don't they, in being able to share the knowledge and the information that you're inspired by with a greater audience through conversation and connection with other humans.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. But I first had that idea, and it still took some time to convince myself that, yes, I'm just going to start, I'm going to do it.
Okay, so let's go there then. Before it actually started happening externally and you taking physical action steps towards creating your podcast, what was the internal process that you had to move through, Cass?
Again, fear, like with the blog. Well, who am I to do a podcast? Who's going to want to listen to me? I'm not a health professional. I'm not a doctor. But the idea never left me. And then, as I say, I listened to podcasts. So I had the idea of, well, I'll ask the health experts to come on, evidence-informed experts to share the information, have the conversations. And so because it had been years of, I really want to do this, but I don't know. The idea never left me, and then I'm like, this is really something I should pay attention to. If it's been years and years, yeah, let's do something about it, see how it goes.
Yeah, so for you listeners listening to Cass too, I could hear that self-doubt or that sneaky voice that's saying, who am I to do this? Who do I think I am? I don't have much to share, or are people even going to tune in and listen? So I think that's something that's really big to sit with and come to terms with and really tune into and listen to. But you also finished up then by just saying this inspiration to really connect with others, to share information and well-being in general. It stayed with you. It never left you, and it kept kind of like, did it keep kind of pushing you towards taking the external action?
Yeah. The idea persisted. It changed from a blog to a podcast.
Yeah.
But I'm like, we only live once. If this idea hasn't left me after all these years, why don't I just do something toward it and see how it goes? And I don't know, maybe I was growing and evolving. I was getting older. I'm like, we only live once. I don't want to get to the end of my life and regret not trying something based on fear.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like the part of you that was willing to take the first next step or follow what the inspiration inside was saying, it had to get louder than the self-doubt, did it? Did it have to stay long enough and get loud? It became the louder, more prominent voice?
Yeah, it persisted. And then I'm like, okay. I think it was just getting to that decision of, yeah, I'm gonna do something with this. But even then it was still a bit of doubt, and it's like, telling the first person, I think, hey, I've got this idea, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, I pretty much had it made up in my mind by then, but even then I was still scared to tell people.
So vocalizing it even as an idea before it was an action.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So yeah, you listeners sitting on the sidelines, if you're working in a 9-to-5 job, or, even if you're working in your own business, whether you're just starting out in something or whether you've been doing it a long time, what I'm hearing Cass say is listen to that inspiration or that inner drive or call to create in a new way, because there's something in that. And if it's repeating and it's getting louder, it's asking something of you.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, Cass, if there was this part in your, before it became an external thing and an action taken, was there a part or a time when you realized you didn't need to have all the answers, or you didn't need to know a clear pathway, but you'd built up enough courage or trust in your idea to start? Like, was there a pivotal moment?
I'm not sure about a pivotal moment. It got to the point where I'm like, I asked myself, what's the worst that can happen? It's like something persisted. If I don't try, if I don't pay attention to it, I'm always going to have this niggling in my gut.
Let's go back to the idea of when this persistence stays with you, this inspiration and this idea. You asked a really cool question, and I asked myself this same question, and it was, what's the worst thing that can happen? And sometimes we really need to face that question and ask it. And I have a follow-up question. I don't know if you do too, but let me know if you do, Cass. My follow-up question is, can I handle that? So when it came to Sky and I starting the podcast, what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, we go to all this effort to create a podcast and record all these episodes, and no one listens. Well, can I handle that if no one listens? Sure I can. So I can take the leap and create the podcast anyway.
Yep.
So is that the kind of, screening that you kind of did with your own thoughts? Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? That's a great way to decide if you've got the courage to action it.
It is, for me, it is. It's always, what's the worst that can happen if I'm fearful of something? And like you said, if you can tolerate that, then, and even, there's nothing to stop you then. And also to look at the flip side always. What if it works? What if I really enjoy what I'm going to do?
Yeah, what if I succeed?
Yes.
That's my big one. I worry about success. And it sounds silly because a lot of people, it's the opposite. They're worrying about failing all the time. But I'm like, well, because I'm quite introverted, or I love my own time and solitude, I think if I succeed, it's going to take up more of my time or my energy, and I'm very careful in preserving that. So Yeah, we can have all
it's
kinds
uncertainty on both sides.
It is.
But just exploring them, but knowing you don't have to, and you're not going to have all the answers at the outset. But it persisted, and I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? And it was like, people will say stuff or criticize it. People won't listen. If people say stuff that's unkind, it says more about them. And I know my why. I'm trying to help people and spread awareness and try and reduce stigma on certain issues. So, you know, I can handle that downside if that were to happen, and I started.
Yeah, because that is something we have to consider when we're moving into like more visibility, isn't it? Or spaces where people can give us comments or feedback. They call it stepping in the arena, don't they? Like, and you might have to face haters or people who are keyboard warriors and comment. But for myself, Cass, when you've mentioned that, it made me really consider, because that's been a big fear for myself, showing up on social media and online. But I've had to move through that internally too, by saying to myself, yes, it is more about them than me. I know who I am, and I'm steadfast in what I'm here to offer or share, right?
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of different internal barriers, isn't there, that we kind of are aware of the moment that inspiration arises. And for myself, when I have action things and started taking the next step, those don't go away. Those voices or those inner narratives don't disappear, do they?
No.
Do you relate to that too, Cass? Like, you're 12 months into a podcast.
I'm 12 months in and I still have doubts. I'm still like, oh, should I post that on social media? Oh, did I look all right to post that on social media? What will people think about it? But for me, I always come back to the why. Why am I doing this? And it's, you know, like those things I said before. So
yeah, so there's got to be something, like, whatever your why is, I think that too needs to become louder and bigger than the self-doubt or anything that's going to hold you back, because it is the motivating force moving and driving you toward creating, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think it's important to know that, so that if those things happen, people start to criticize or not many people are listening. Why are you doing it? And I get so much enjoyment out of it as well.
So it's really satisfying you, it's fueling you, and it's helping you feel good too.
It's, rounded.
Yeah. So looking back, was creating something new or more, like this podcast, because I know you still work part-time, Cass, and this is something that it takes time, it takes effort, it takes creativity, and you're clearly doing that alongside your paid employment. But was creating something new more about building a business for you? Or was it more about being fully expressed or following your why? What was it?
It's really about following the why, because as I said, the idea persisted, and I'm like, I should do something about that, because I didn't want to get to an older age and have regret and have let fear stop me. And then, so I'm clear on the why, and I'm like, I've just got to start. As well as helping people, as I said, I get immense satisfaction out of the creative process, and I've learnt a heap along the way. I'm learning new things. I'm learning from the health experts, which I just love. Connecting with people. Because
what I'm hearing you say is that all of the things that you've actioned because of your inspiration and your calling has really contributed to your growth, to your development as well, and to you feeling like more internal satisfaction as well. Yeah,
I'm not sitting there. I don't have that inner niggling now. Maybe you should do something with this, because I am actioning it.
Yeah.
And along the way, I check in with myself, and I'm like, I am loving this. And so that feels right to me, because some feedback that people give me, which has been really positive, but also how much satisfaction I get from that. I'm like, I feel like this is what I should be doing. You asked about a business before. I'm doing this all for free, all in my own time, and I'm lucky that generous guests really want to help people, and they share their free time for free as well. I do hope that one day I might be able to make this into a full-time job for myself, but I don't know. That's not possible at the moment. So I'm just continuing to try and focus on creating good quality content for people to try and spread awareness on various topics. And
beautiful.
Yeah.
I take from that, and I hope you do too, listeners, is that Cass is saying, do what you can, where you can. You know, and even if it is that you have this idea that's showing up or this inspiration, maybe it's a passion that you're, you know, a purpose or a passion that you have, follow it. It doesn't matter where you're at in your life or your employment or your, you know, your own business. If you action that, there's something about that that's really personally satisfying. Because I'm a big believer myself in we have a mission or a purpose that we're here to bring through to the world. And I too understand completely that it keeps coming back and it gets louder. And if you're not actioning it, I've become really depressed even or dissatisfied within myself when I'm sitting with my inspiration and I'm not bringing it to the external. It's like... I feel like I'm letting myself down in some ways. And the same is true for me too, Cass. When I follow through with something, I'm personally rewarded in so many different ways. Even if it is to not have that, you know, constant reminder happening, because I've done something this week that is toward that. Even if it's just writing an idea in my journal, if it's having a conversation with one person, if it's making one episode of a podcast, it's something toward it, isn't it?
It's an action toward it, and that reduces the friction, that internal friction. If you're not actioning it, and it still persists, at least taking action, and then from taking that action, I suggest people reassess, sit with that. How does that feel? Did that action feel good to take? Am I happy with that? And that can determine, you know, your next direction.
Beautiful, beautiful. So if we need to pivot, you know, we can stop, take, we can recalibrate, we can pivot as we go. It's not set in stone, is it? Yeah, beautiful. What about surprises? Has anything about the last 12 months and starting a podcast, you know, or just you actioning these things that you feel called to, is there anything about it that surprised you, Cass?
Well, lots of learnings in the production side of things, like learning to use different platforms and different tools to actually create and produce a podcast. But really, from the health experts, I did a reflection episode for 12 months of the podcast recently, and I was saying that I really learned that I even thought that, you know, they're separate health topics, but I've just come to realize that everything really is interconnected. You speak to one expert and they'll mention, like, say, for example, a brain health expert, they'll mention how important metabolic markers like cholesterol and blood sugar are to your heart, and what's important for your heart health is also important for your brain health. Exercise is important, you know, for muscle tone and stuff, but it's also really important for our mental health. So just everything, our whole being is interconnected.
It sure is, isn't it? And that does sound like a surprising learning for you, that symbiotic relationship between all of the internal happenings in the body and mind. That's a beautiful share, Cass. Thank you.
Thank you.
What about for our listeners out there? If there's someone who's kind of sitting on the fence or procrastinating or, you know, trying to dip their toes in and out and decide whether they should leave their 9 to 5 or whether they should fully jump in and pursue something, like, what is there something from your own experience that you might share with them? What would you want them to know?
I would want them to know you can get so bogged down for such a long time in that analysis paralysis, and try not to overwhelm yourself. Just think of the very next small step that you might be able to take toward creating or bringing to life your idea. You don't have to have the whole path mapped out. I think we need to trust ourselves a bit more that along the way we can check in and we can figure it out. We can pivot if we want to along the way. So, yeah, there might be many twists and turns along the way, but I would always just say try to just focus on the next small step and not overwhelm yourself. Take some action, and with taking even a small amount of action, confidence will come. You'll become more confident and you'll you'll inform yourself with more information. Each small step you take will give you information as to whether you're heading in the right direction or whether you need to pivot to bring your idea to life.
Aha, so that's almost like what I can hear there is it's almost like the universe is going to give you some feedback on how to adjust along the way if you're taking that action. It's
all information, right? So yeah, you're going to, when you take action, there's going to be consequences from that action, and you can assess that information. Also, I would say check in and say, how do I feel after taking that next small step of action? Does this feel aligned with what my why is or what I'm trying to express here?
Yeah.
And if it does, then that's information that, you're probably on the right path.
Oh, that's such beautiful wisdom, Cass. Thank you so much for sharing that with our listeners today.
Thank you.
And so what I'm hearing overall from everything that you've shared with us is, you might be working a job, or, life is happening. Something is continually showing up as an inspiration. Maybe your listeners can relate that there's something that's bubbling away inside of you that you're really excited about or passionate to create or share with others. Try not to sit on the fence too long, but recognize and acknowledge all those parts. But feedback from other people, or from, the feelings that you're having. Cash, you're saying your feelings along the way give you the feedback in which direction then to take moving forward. And just pursue it above anything. Like, if you can
take some action, even if it's only small, and see how that feels. Like, you might change your mind along the way, and you might go, no, that idea is not for me, but it might give you information that actually this is really what I want to do.
Yeah. So pursuing it might bring more clarity.
Taking that next small step will bring some more clarity, and then you just build on that and take another small step based on how you feel.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, I hope all you listeners out there are inspired today to see that, if Cass can do it, if I can do it, you can do it too. And it is about taking those baby steps or little actions when and how you can. So thanks for tuning in today, and thank you, Cass, for joining me and sharing more about your journey and the surprises and learnings that you've experienced along the way. Here's to another whole 12 months of podcasting for you. I hope we can chat again in another 12 months time too.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and I was saying, I'm still a baby and have my L plates on with my podcasting, and I really admired how great Cass is at her intros and exits. But as I exit my podcast today, I just want to remind all of you dedicated listeners, if you could rate or review our podcast, that really helps it get out to other listeners. And if anyone is new to the podcast, welcome, and I hope that you've enjoyed hearing more about Cass's journey today. You can find her on Instagram or the Mind Your Being podcast.
Yep. Excuse me. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Mind Your Being podcast, and we have a website, mindyourbeing.com.au. So many ways to connect.
Yes. So I really also love when I've listened to your podcast, Cass. You have such a calm and prosodic voice.
Oh,
so
thanks.
It doesn't matter what you're talking about. I find it just soothing to listen to you.
Oh, thank you so much.
So please keep sharing, keep getting all that beautiful information and help out for wellness for people in our community, in our local and broader communities.
Yep.
That's the great thing about podcasting, isn't it? We reach so many more people.
Yeah, I love it. I get so excited. There's people all around the world tuning in, and new people every week, new cities around the world, and so that's exciting. You never know who's tuning in.
That's so true. So for all of you who've tuned in today, take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.